Hey, what is going on, you guys? Admiral Tori here, and welcome aboard for another World of Warships video on my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be selling the Tier 8 Japanese heavy cruiser, the Atago. So the Atago has been in my docks in forever. She is one of the few first premium ships that I bought, but I never taken the opportunity, if not do a video about the Atago. There have been several cases that I wanted to do a video about Atago, but of course there's other ships that I felt that I want to do more than Atago. It's not because the Atago is a bad ship. It's because the Atago is a permanent premium ship from the shop. It didn't really give me the incentive to do a video about the Atago right away, because I'm assuming that if you play World of Warships long enough, especially when you're coming from the time like me during open beta, which the Atago was already released, you already know what the Atago is about. And the Atago actually has a really funny lifetime. At first, she was very powerful when people first played her. She's like almost like above the grid in terms of average amount of damage and performance. And then later on, she was very weak to a lot of players because she's a very easy ship to Citadel, due to the fact that her dimensions are very large for being a Citadel. And then now she's kind of going back to being very powerful to people who know how to use the Atago. The Atago is certainly, without a doubt, when I first played her, a difficult ship that I thought of when I started playing the Atago. And the reason why is that there was things that I was not used to when it comes to playing the Atago. And one of the major characteristics that I want to point out about the Atago is that her concealment. If you want to make the Atago as best as possible in every sort of scenario, become a ninja. Like, just act like a shinobi with the Atago, because the Atago is literally a perfect representation of a ninja. Her concealment is one of the best in this game, and I think that is the biggest selling point for buying the Atago. Now, there have been several players out there who are really good at World of Warship, probably would agree that the Atago might be the best tier 8 Japanese cruiser, or cruiser in general. And the reason why is that there are several things I really like about Atago, but before I can get into those facts, I can talk about a little story about the Atago in terms of World of Warships, and of course some historical significance. The Atago is actually part of the Takayo class heavy cruiser. The Takayo class heavy cruisers are the one who succeed the tier 7 Japanese heavy cruiser known as the Miyoko class. The Miyoko is pretty much identical to the Atago, but the Atago is a modernized version of the Miyoko, because the Miyoko was a sort of prototype to the Takayo class cruiser, and the Takayo class cruiser will later on become a prototype to the Mogami class, because the Mogami is actually the cruiser that succeeds the Takayo class cruiser. There are several things about the Takayo class cruiser that are interesting. Number one, the Takayo class cruiser, which came out roughly around the early parts of the 1930s, the year that they came out were considered one of the most powerful cruisers in the world. Now, that is very subjective, but we can simply say that they're powerful, at least to say if they were claiming to be one of the most powerful cruisers. At the same time, if I recall correctly, the Takayo class cruisers were the fastest heavy cruiser at their time, which is one thing I noticed about the Japanese heavy cruisers. They're pretty fast for having such a large dimension, with the fact that there are heavy cruisers, because heavy cruisers are basically supposed to be one of the slowest form factors of cruisers because they're heavy, but surprisingly the Japanese heavy cruisers, they're very fast. And I think one of the reasons why is that when you take a look at the Atago, she has a very dynamic design. She is very slim on the side, and if you compare with all the other cruisers, I think the other cruisers are much more wider and shorter on the ends. But with the Japanese like to make it seem like a long type of ship, which is very evident for a lot of Japanese ships, because the Japanese ships I play, like the Fuso, the Kongo, the Atago, the Mogami, they tend to be very long ship, and the Atago is no exceptions from the list, because she is definitely a very long ship, which is one of the reasons why she is really easily Citadel. But back to the point, the Takayo class cruisers were very powerful cruisers during World War II, but they do have one inherent problem, which pretty much plague the Japanese ship in general. And one of the problems with the Takayo class cruiser, and in this case the Atago being the sister ship to Takayo class, the reason why they picked the Atago as a premium ship is probably because she has a long history in the Japanese Navy for serving. She has fought many situations like I think the Eastern Solomon Islands, possibly Guadalcanal, but she served as any other Japanese heavy cruiser, escorting the fleet, fighting land battles that near the shores, of course, and of course doing what the Japanese cruisers do best, fighting other ships if they ever encounter other ships. And that's something I want to divide because some people don't realize this, but the Japanese doctrine when it comes to the heavy cruisers, or cruisers in general, is that they are designed to fight battleships and of course other cruisers, mainly cruisers and destroyers. But the reason why I say that is because some people mix the fact that, you know, cruisers are all designed to be the same, multi-purpose. That's not actually true because, for example, the Americans are very dependent on durability, reliability, and the ability to support other ships, which is why the American cruiser line beyond tier 6 don't get any torpedoes. Torpedoes is one of the assets of a cruiser for the Japanese. Actually, a very important asset in World of Warships was because the Japanese wanted their heavy cruisers to have everything: big guns, fast speed, decent AA, but in this case it's kind of, you know, very subjective because they can say it's decent AA for their times, but certainly, I'm not gonna lie, Japanese cruisers, especially the Atago, having one of the worst AA is not an evident thing, but the Japanese didn't really emphasize AA as much as they wanted to, even though the irony was that the Japanese were one of the first nations to exploit the ability to use aircraft carriers. So, you know, when you have something very powerful that you know of, why don't you build upon to defend yourself against that idea? Which is one of the reasons why Japanese, they tend to lose the air fight. When you have airplanes over your ship, you don't have good AA. It's really difficult to shoot down planes with the Atago, and the Atago, weirdly enough, has weirder AAs than the Miyoko, meaning that she actually has weaker AA from the ship that she's supposed to succeed, which is the tier 7 Miyoko. And being a premium ship is a big deal, and especially being tier 8 when you're dealing with a Lexington, a Taiho, or a Hakuryu, it's not going to be a fun day at all with the Atago. So the Atago right away, biggest weak spot is the anti-air with a rating of 36. Compared to like a Miyoko, if I recall correctly, the Miyoko AA rating is around roughly 45. So yeah, big difference. And for example, the Mogami, which is the tier 8, is 40. So I'm assuming it's around 40 for a Miyoko. I'm not sure why the Miyoko has a really good AA. But back to the Atago. Atago doesn't have AA, but the thing that Japanese stress is armor, speed, guns, the number of guns, and the number of torpedoes, because those are the things that will determine whether a Japanese heavy cruiser is capable of taking down a battleship, a destroyer, or an enemy cruiser. Now, aircraft carriers, like I said, ironically that the Japanese exploit such powers during World War II, one of the first nations to ever come up with the idea to mobilize a huge fleet with aircraft carriers and destroyers. They don't really stress it as much as you wanted them to stress it until later on when they have different types of destroyers. They were mounting the 100 millimeter guns on like a Akizuki class destroyer, if I believe I recall correctly. The newer anti-air, which is their best anti-air. But in this case, the Atago weakest spot is really anti-air, and in general, Japanese heavy cruisers don't really stress the anti-air. They stress the ability to fight other cruiser. So in most cases, you're gonna be maybe the lone wolf. You might be the guy who supports in terms of damage, but you're not gonna be the guy like in New Orleans who escort battleships, or like Atlanta. And that is really the biggest difference between the Japanese heavy cruiser doctrine and the American doctrine, because the American doctrine, they emphasize anti-air, speed, and the ability to escort aircraft carriers, which personally, in my opinion, if I were to fight in the war, I would bank on support rather than doing damage as a cruiser, because aircraft carriers are evidently much more useful than having a cruiser who can fight another cruiser, because aircraft carriers can take down the cruiser, aircraft carriers could give you information where the opponent you're facing, and of course aircraft carriers are more capable of doing more things than what a cruiser can do, even though the Atago gets the nickname of being the Swiss Army knife in World of Warships because she has a lot of characteristics characteristics that enable her as a cruiser to do a lot of things in Tier 8 without a doubt, which is why several people would claim the Atago would be one of the best Tier 8 cruisers to obtain in this game, maybe wish to pay the money to get the Atago. Now, yes, Atago is kind of pricey on the end when it comes to being a cruiser, but you gotta realize that she is a Tier 8 cruiser, and number 2, I really do like the Atago because the Atago is pretty powerful. Now, back to the point, I forgot to talk about the weak point, the inherent problem with the Atago. Interesting fact, the Atago superstructure, which is one of the most beautiful superstructures that you see in World of Warship, especially the bridge, this develops into a common problem with the Japanese Navy, and this is referred as a top-heavy design, which means that there's a lot of weight on the top while there's no weight at the bottom, which results in that the ship tend to want to have the disposition to tip over if you have a sufficient enough power in terms of the water, the wave. If the wave can push the side of the Atago, it will tip over. And that is why when you go from the Atago, which is the Takayo class cruiser, to the Mogami has a very small superstructure because they want to reduce the weight. So I bought the Atago because she was a beautiful cruiser due to the superstructure, but the superstructure is a weak point on the ship. But like I said, interesting fact, doesn't affect World of Warships at all. But to let you guys know, other ships that have top-heavy design, Fuso, Nagato, supposedly the Yamato. But the Yamato, being such a huge ship on the dimension, isn't really top-heavy as you expect it to be, but she is considered top-heavy to a degree. But mainly the Fuso, Nagato, and the Kongo, and of course the Takayo class cruiser, which is why if you compare something like the Tier 7 Miyoko, you can see the Japanese transformation from the Miyoko to the Atago, because the Miyoko has fairly large superstructure, which is larger than the Mogami, but the Miyoko was referred as top-heavy. With the Atago, you can see it get slightly bigger, which has a really nice aerodynamic design. Then you get the Mogami, which is reduced drastically, and that is a lot. That is pretty big in terms of design, because one of the Japanese, I think, cargo ship was top heavy, and it was actually capsized during a light storm. So if you're gonna fight in the Pacific Ocean, you gotta address that issue with the stability of a ship. So let's talk about the Atago in terms of World of Warships. Well, survivability. Like I said, everybody knows the Atago's biggest weak point aside from the anti-air is her citadel. She has a huge citadel. And if I were just to take this out, take that out, is that the citadel? Yeah, that is the citadel. But yeah, you can see that the citadel stretches from the stern to the forward ends of the ship, roughly from here to here. If you ever show a broadside, you can kind of guarantee that you're going to get citadel. Even at a slight angle, you can get citadel. But to be honest, she does have very good armor, and her armor is capable of bouncing battleship shells and of course cruiser shells if you're angle. But then again, she is also a thin ship, meaning that she can actually really bounce shells really well due to the fact that she's not as wide. But at the same time, if you're at a certain angle, you can actually penetrate the armor of this ship with the New Orleans, for example, even though the ship is angle. And to make things worse, like I said, the Atago has a large dimension. So Atago, a double-edged sword. She has really good armor when she's angle, but she could be really devastated if you show up broadside against a Japanese, American, whatever battleship it is, or against cruisers, and she will take the pain. But then again, the Atago, one of the nice things about the Atago is that she does have a huge health pool, and she does come with a lot of consumables in terms of the regen, the fighter plane, and then the defensive fire. You can replace the defensive fire with hydroacoustic search. I'm not sure with the fire plane, you can't really do much with that, but yeah, you want to get hydroacoustic search. The only reason I have defensive fire is because I have to really bank on the fact that the torpedoes will spread out or dive bombers will hit me, or not hit me, miss me due to the fact that my defensive fire is up. But I'm not expecting to shoot down planes, which is why I run the defensive fire. While hydroacoustic search, ideally I want, because I want to dodge those torpedoes due to the fact that the ship is very long, meaning that you can actually get hit by torpedoes easily, but not a big deal as long as you have the fighter plane up to spot the torpedoes by chance. In terms of the stuff I run with her, I have all of these. The accuracy, which is very important. Like I said, Japanese doctrine with the heavy cruisers is all about the battle capabilities or the ability to fight other cruiser at the optimal rate. If you try to build the Atago as a support ship like full anti-air, I tried doing that and I didn't get the results I wanted. You don't get that impact as you were to build on the New Orleans or the Pensacola or on the Cleveland. Atago, you might as well just go all out on her strength, which is her battle capability. So accuracy, number 1. Number 2, the ability to set things on fire. So I traded for my captain skills. I traded the range on the anti-air, which is the advanced firing training, for the demolition expert, because Japanese HE is evidently very powerful, if not the most powerful HE on the cruiser line so far, if you want to compare with the Russians, because the Russians are a rapid firing type of cruiser. For Japanese, Atago is pretty powerful with I think a 20% chance of setting a ship on fire per volley. Let's see, yeah, 20% chance of setting on fire. AP on the ship is brilliant if you can get close enough against a enemy cruiser. Switch to AP definitely, but HE all the way when you want to get the decent results or the results you want, because this ship will burn a lot of ships to death. It's one of my favorite ships to play against battleships. So when I said that the Atago has very poor armor when it comes to the broadside, I'm not really expecting the Atagos to actually, bounce shells or take damage and not get citadel, because the armor is thick enough to take a 16-inch shells. But the thing that really makes the ship compensate for the weakness, and that is really cool about the ships, because you don't see that often when you see a strength that compensate the weakness of a ship. In terms of World of Warship, most ships I play, you have the weakness and you have the strength. The Atago in this case, she has the weakness, but her strength also compensate for it, except the anti-air, and that is her concealment. She probably has the best tier 8 concealment for a cruiser with a 10.4 rating if you slap onto the concealment system modification. Concealment. Get the concealment expert, which is I'm still working on, but even without it, this ship will stress every situation at her best. She can handle it at the best, meaning that if, for instance, you have torpedoes, which are the famous Japanese long-lance torpedo, which have a range of 10 kilometers and a speed of 62 knots and doing a devastating damage of 17,000 damage against a battleship, which are mounted in quad, meaning that you have 4 on each torpedo tube and you have 2 tubes on each side, meaning that you can technically dump 16 torpedoes if you wish to do one broadside and the other broadside, which is more than enough to sink a Yamato or a Kafus. This ship, with 10.4 kilometer concealment range and 10 kilometer of torpedo maximum range, you could treat this like a huge destroyer. And that is the interesting fact of the Atago. So in terms of the Atago, she handles in terms of tier 8 cruiser, she handles battleship the best due to her torpedo range. She handles cruisers, battleships, and destroyer due to her HE and AP against cruiser. Her armor can pretty much deflect any shell from a heavy cruiser. Battleship, sometimes she can do it, sometimes she can't, but she is very thin in dimension but long. So if you maintain angle and also you're fast, meaning that you can get from point A to point B and escape with your concealment, all around, if you combine all the great things about the Atago, overall, she is an expensive ship, but she is a ship that I would recommend if you wish to want to buy the Atago, because she is, number 1, very powerful, number 2, she is beautiful, and number 3, she has a learning curve, which is kind of cool when you learn to play new ships. But if you don't know how to play the Atago, or you don't like the Japanese heavy cruiser, I wouldn't recommend the Atago. But if you learn the Atago, she is pretty much powerful all around. Like I said, she is literally a upgraded Miyoko. One of the problems I had with the Miyoko was the turret traverse speed. The turret traversed slower than a German 15-inch caliber battleship, which is a very big downside for the Miyoko and the Mogami's 155. But with the Atago plays like the Miyoko, but better, because she has better concealment than the Miyoko. Miyoko has roughly 13 kilometers of concealment, while the Atago has 10.4 kilometers. And the biggest upgrade is that this ship rotates her turret roughly 26.1 seconds with the marksman turret speed, whatever you want to call it, on the captain skills. And I don't even have the main battery modification too, but I like to have the aiming system, because it's all about your accuracy with heavy cruiser. If you're very accurate, if you know how to understand the situation, when to fire, when to utilize your concealment, which a lot of people forget. sometimes you don't always have to fire your ship. You know, you don't have to fire your guns. Sometimes you want to stay concealed, get in a better position, then fire your guns, or send your torpedoes down once you're concealed. And that is the trick to playing the Atago. Concealment, torpedoes, guns. Pick the situation that is advantageous to your ship. And without further ado, before I can get in the game, I guess I can just talk about the story about the Atago in terms of World of Warships, which I forgot to mention. The Atago was actually the ship that replaced a particular premium ship, which is a ship that I have never encountered because this ship only exists during the stage of closed beta, or at least the alpha stage of World of Warships. And I thought this story is interesting. You can't just search this up on YouTube for this particular ship. And that ship is called the Kitakami. The Kitakami is a oddball, and there's a reason why they replaced the Kitakami with the Atago. The Kitakami literally looks like a tier 4 Kuma and has the guns exactly like the Kuma, but she has roughly 20 torpedoes on each side, if I recall correctly, which means that you can drop 40 torpedoes, unless I meant 10 torpedoes on each side. But I'm assuming there were like 20 torpedoes on each side because she literally has bunch of quad launchers on the ends of the ship and bunch of quad launchers on the other side of the ship. Which means that she is broken in one end, but yet extremely weak on the other end, because she is a tier 8 ship. You're basically bringing a Kuma to a tier 8 battle, but at the same time you have like tier 8 or tier 9 torpedo setup. And she was kind of ridiculous due to the fact that she has a lot of torpedoes and she was annoying a lot of the cruisers and battleship. All she has to do is just sail around the corner, drop torpedoes, and you get some results if you ever hit anything. And then again, if you run the expert concealment, you can even make it even better. But she was literally a cruiser that was acting like a destroyer, and if you ever get into a knife battle against a Kitakami usually dies in a knife battle, but at the same time you won't survive against her volley of torpedoes unless you know how to dodge the torpedoes. But the Kitakami was the ship that was being replaced by the Atago, and that is really the story behind the Atago. And speaking of torpedoes, before I can get in the game with the Atago, one very unique feature about the Atago, especially currently in World of Warships, that no other Japanese heavy cruisers have. I mean, most of the Japanese heavy cruisers pretty much have very similar characteristics, except that they get higher in tiers. But the torpedoes, this ship is currently the only Japanese heavy cruiser, if I recall correctly, because I haven't played the Ibuki nor the Zao, but I'm assuming, judging from the way the Zao looks and the Ibuki looks for its torpedo arrangement, the Atago is the only Japanese heavy cruiser that are able to fire her torpedoes at the forward ends of the ship at this angle, meaning that she can fire at all angles with her torpedo, which is a big thumbs up for the Atago. While with the Mogami can only fire her torpedoes at the rear end, meaning that when you see a Japanese heavy cruiser turn around and run away, most likely there's torpedoes swimming in the water. With the Atago, you don't have to show your entire broadside and then point your stern in order to fire torpedoes. You can play very aggressive with the Atago, rush up to the battleship, don't have to show a full broadside, but still you can drop your 4 torpedoes on the end, and once you pass the battleship, you could drop your rear ends of your torpedo to finish off the battleship. But honestly, 4 torpedoes are really devastating on the Atago long-lance torpedoes. So the Atago is the only Japanese heavy cruiser or Japanese ship that is able to fire her torpedoes at a good angle, because like I said, all other Japanese cruisers, in order to fire their torpedoes, they have to show their broadside and then turn around, show their stern while they're swimming away or they're sailing away, then drop their torpedoes. Atago, drop them right at the forward ends and then the rear ends, and having the Japanese famous long-last torpedoes being fast and long range, good concealment. All these combinations put together makes the Atago a brilliant ship. So without further ado, let's get in the match with the Atago. Alrighty guys, we are in the game with the Atago, and we're going against several battleships and several cruisers. There's only 3 destroyers, and we're playing the map called Estuary Domination. So we're going to be working on the Delta side of the map, only because I spawned on this side, and hopefully I don't run into this Kiev. Maintain the outskirts, okay? We want to maintain the map control and at the same time stay near the islands, because sometimes we're going to need that island to get away. Now I'm going to play the support role in terms of the ability to provide fire cover. compared to American support role, because Americans tend to go for the battleship escort. But we're gonna help escort this Kiev in a sense, because we have good concealment, number one, so we can keep up with the concealment on the Kiev, and number two, we're designed to fight other destroyers and cruisers. So let's do our job. Now, of course, I want to go into D, but there's that question if I can trust this Kiev, because sometimes destroyers don't want to give you smokes for whatever the reason is. Alright, let's turn our way here. Chances are he's gonna fire at our position. Oh, it's the Lo Yang. And Fuso choose to fire at... Alright, I was gonna say, I guess it though. Fire at Kiev. Let's see if I can get my aim to bear. Incoming salvo. You gotta be very slippery. You gotta become a slippery target. Nice, we set one fire, 6 hits. And we're still spotted. I'm gonna take a random guess over the islands. And we're concealed again. There seems to be a typhoon incoming within 5 minutes, which makes things interesting and on my side, because like I said, I have torpedoes. If I can close the distance, we can definitely do a lot of damage against the enemy team. And look at the minimap, the enemy team seems to stack this side, so it's a good choice for me not to go in with the Kiev right away. I don't know if the Kiev uses smoke. Oh, this is such a perfect spot. Why did I keep... Man, I was sailing too far. Let's load AP, because the Prince Awaken is showing that nice, sexy broadside. Oh, wow, look at the damage. She's still showing that broadside. Let's... Oh, no. I think she's turning her way. Now I am broadside, because that Lo Yang is spotting me. Oh, this is gonna be a big hit. This is gonna be a big hit. No. No. We tricked the enemy team, thinking that we're going forward. I'm gonna keep working with what I have here. Gotta maintain this angle, getting ready to run away. Always be ready to run away. So yeah, definitely AP doesn't work well against battleships in a Japanese heavy cruiser. But HE does. That's why I got Demolition Expert. And Blast. I can't see the Bismarck. Oh yeah, 2 fires. That one volley got 2 fires. Hopefully he doesn't have damage control. It looks like he does not. Get those well-aimed salvos and you'll get high rewards for it. Let's get another set of 2 fires. Oh, 3 fires. My gosh, we are burning the Bismarck. Now Bismarck is gonna come right around this corner. I'm gonna drop torpedoes. That was a poorly aimed torpedo, but that's okay, because it doesn't matter. Oh yeah, we're doing some substantial damage against that Bismarck. Start going, start moving. Let's get out of this position. Move position to position. Can't sit there all day. Oh, that would be nice if my torpedoes actually hit him. Yeah, you can see the potential of fire in this ship. And the accuracy is really good. The dispersion, solid. Alright, let's angle against that Colorado, because Colorado's gonna take a pop shot on us. Guarantee. I am spotted again. Alright, get ready to maneuver. Not into the islands, of course. Please don't hit the Citadel. There's always a good chance that they can pen the Citadel from the stern of the ship through the decks. Always watch where your salvo is going, because you want to get an idea where to aim. And if you don't keep track of where you're landing your shells, how will you know where to aim? Oh, nice fire set. Prince Awaken firing at us. Looks like another salvo from Colorado. See, everybody wants to shoot at you because they know for a fact that it's really easy to Citadel Atagos, but you know me, you gotta keep going. Another fire set. This is always nice. Kinda wish I had AP loaded. Let's load AP, see what happens. If we can set the fire on the Prince Oigan, that'd be nice. Yeah, look at that, another fire. 8 fires, guys, you know what I'm saying? It's overpowered, right? Everyone said that the Atago was crap at one point. I don't know about that. Let's keep watching that. Okay, Colorado looks like he gave up on us. He realized that our power. Prince Oigan, and the Bayern wants to take a pop shot against us. Let's tell Bayern how to speak fire. Oh, look at that, Lo Yang's. Is that Lo Yang's torpedoes? Incoming Lo Yang. Should be able to be fast enough to dodge those torpedoes. Everyone still wants to shoot at me. Why is this the reason? Oh, probably because I'm the only capital ship here, huh? In terms of the cruiser capital ships. That makes sense. Alright, let's stay concealed. 3 seconds before the storm pops up. Cyclone. Alright, now this is the part where it gets interesting, guys. This is the part where it gets interesting. Japanese. We're going in. Once the storm kicks in, settles down, we're gonna play some Japanese style cruiser. I'll show you guys how to play like a shinobi. Hopefully. Correctly. This is gonna be really cool. This is how you utilize the Atago's torpedoes, guys. You guys know where I'm going here. So when the storm settles down, the Fuso should disappear, and it's gonna be me and the Bayern. We're gonna help this good Eisenhower and provide fire support against the Bayern. Fuso is sailing away. Bayern's isolated. Reading the situation, right? Always put yourself in a good situation. We're gonna cut off the escape route of this Bayern. Gonna head in there. And my gosh, there's only two destroyers that died, and 1 destroyer and a cruiser on the enemy team that died. That's amazing. So Bayern, notice on the minimap, he's turning around. He is trying to make his epic escape. We're gonna not let that happen at all. Oh gosh, B is getting taken. So we got a problem. Hopefully someone can grab B. Alright, we're spotted by somebody. I don't know who. Destroyer. Alright, looks like Bayern is sailing away. I'm gonna set him on fire. Set him another fire. Gonna take this island here. Gonna go back to our original island. Set another fire. Oh, someone fired at us. Oh, Hatsuharu. Gotta be careful with the Hatsuharu here. Oh no, we gotta take one. Are you kidding me? What terrible luck. Where's this battleship going? This way? Alright, let's get ready for the torpedo run here. Is that the Bismarck sailing this direction? Let's give him the torpedo of his life. Gonna turn around. We gotta get some objectives here. The enemy team is definitely dominating this area. Gneisenau now just died, unfortunately. He's going against the entire enemy team. Oh no, we're gonna get torpedo run. Let's knock out his torpedoes. Always aim for the torpedoes. Rudder, keep your guns spare. Please don't have torpedoes, you just used them. Tell me you don't have torpedoes. There we go. That's how you do the war cry against somebody like that. Our torpedoes didn't hit anything. Let's grab B again, I guess. Luckily, Hatsuharu. Honestly, I was kind of glad that he sent his torpedoes toward me early parts, even though I got hit. But I could have been dead right there. Should have been dead, actually. Alright, so 2 battleships on that side. Oh, now there's only 1. Somebody got Fubuki really hard. There's still a battleship over here, I know for a fact. Let's pop our fighter plane, why not? We need objectives. This is an objective type of game. So we're gonna counter cap the enemy since they're capping A by taking B. With the speed of the Atago, you can get from point A to point B. Might as well utilize that. Always, always, guys. Don't like throw away your advantage. Now, I really want more damage, but we can add some more points by taking a flag. 12 fire sets, yeah, HE, way to go. Definitely way to go. Alright, we're gonna head towards... I don't know, C? Should I go C? Where's the other battleship? I know, okay, so probably they're on this side. There's gotta be a destroyer at A. Oh yeah, both battleships over there. I wanna get over there. Once I can, like, capture this flag. Oh, 3 ships over there. Oh, please, 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 please. Give me the flag, 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 give me the flag. Ah! Stop! Stop, you're too fast! No! Oh! Oh my god, Blast! You're kidding me. Oh. Oh, the problem with fast ships. I guess we can wait for this enemy destroyer to pop up. How unfortunate. We should have got the flag right on it. Just literally right on it. It looks like he popped a smoke. You guys see that smoke? That foggy smoke in the distance? I didn't even get any torpedo hits. Alright, let's stop for a second. Come on. Alright, now we can go. Oh shoot, Prince Eugen. Aha, there is a Prince Eugen here. Let's drop some torpedoes. Oh, please. Oh. Loading AP. Oh, my guns are not bearing. She probably dropped torpedoes. Oh. Oh, we're probably gonna die this one because Prince Eugen got torpedoes, right? Oh yeah, she got torpedoes. Oh, can we dodge? Alright, guys. This might be it. Come on. She got a ram! That's the game! That's game! That's what it is. That's what we get. We got the ram. Well, aside from that, we can always look at the after action report after this games and then call it a day. Alrighty, you guys. This is the after action report. 280,000 coins, 2k of XP, 114,000 damage, which is above the 100,000 damage mark, meaning that this is a above average game for me, or at least for me is really good. Anything above 80,000 to 100,000 is a really good game when it comes to damage, especially on cruisers. 105 hits with the Atago. Like I said, the Atago is all about the firepower. If you're able to land your shots, you can do a lot of damage with the Atago. 5 incapacitation, 2 ships were sunk, 14 fires. That is impressive because the Atago is one of the slowest fire rate cruiser you can get in this game, especially her reload time is like roughly 17 to 16 seconds, 3 seconds behind the Scharnhorst. But with 105 hits and 14 fires, maintaining that good accuracy allows the Atago being one of the most accurate cruisers to scale beyond your average tier 8 cruisers, which is probably why I really like the Atago. It's because she has such accurate guns, and the ability to set ships on fire with the Japanese HE makes her so strong and potent. Now, unfortunately, I was not able to showcase my abilities to use torpedoes, and the reason why is that early on in the game, the part where the storm was about to come, I was supposed to close in onto the Bayern, but when I saw the Chapayev, I shot the Bismarck and the Fuso. I knew those ships were there, but when I saw them still very grouped up and the Bayern retreating. That was supposed to be the time I was supposed to use the torpedoes and close the distance as a cruiser and turn the Atago, like I said, the Swiss Army knife. She can do anything. She's very versatile. Turn the Atago into a destroyer type of ship, meaning that you put yourself into aggression situation and utilize those torpedoes because these torpedoes are very powerful. But in the future, I'll definitely get some gameplays if I can with the Atago with the torpedo action because the torpedo is something that I really want to use. I wasn't really paying attention to the torpedo as much as I want because I was behind the island, but certainly I did showcase the power of her guns, and that's what really matters because guns come number one. Number two comes torpedo, and seeing that 14 fire sets with very accurate shots of 105 hits tells you something that the Atago is for high caliber players who know how to land their shots, especially if you're a battleship player because battleship is all about accuracy. One flooding, because the Prince Eugen rammed us, which is in our favor, but we still lost the game. One assisted cap and 12 hits with the secondaries. Now, you're probably asking why did we lose the game? It was actually supposed to be our win, but I spotted two poor plays. One was that we had a New Mexico who happens to be pretty much out of the game most of the time, meaning that he was not in the battle as much as I wanted, meaning that by the end of the game, he had more than 95% of his health until he was at a certain cap, and basically the game ended before he can really do anything. The second thing was that, I don't know why, but I spotted this guy. His name ends with destroyer, but he was playing a battleship. Now, I don't have a tendency to call people out because everybody at points do make mistakes, but in this case, he's selling a tier 8 Bismarck, and he's selling broadside with it loaded with HE the entire time, brawling against another Bismarck who was showing broadside, but at least he was having AP loaded as a battleship. But he was only broadsiding because he knew for a fact that our Bismarck, the one who's his name but destroyer, you will see in the leaderboard, he was playing very poorly. He was out of the game half the time, and when he got in the game, he was using HE on the Bismarck. There were so many opportunities he could have citadel the cruisers that were still standing, and the cruisers were able to wither them down to low health until the cruisers died to one of the friendly cruisers. But the cruisers did more damage to him when he should not take that much damage if he had AP load to take them out earlier. And of course, the enemy Bismarck that we set fire to early parts of the game, he was pretty low and he could have finished him off really easily, but he used HE. So it comes down to my conclusion that this guy probably loves the Bismarck, and I respect him for that because he loves ships, but he wasn't playing the battleship as he should. And by the scoreboard, where did we get placed? We got placed in second with the Chapai above us, but our friendly Bismarck was right here, and I don't know what he was doing, but you can tell that he didn't do as well as you expect him to do, but certainly he still did better than most of our team, so I gotta respect that fact. But then again, he was playing really weirdly, and the last play I saw was when I told him that you should load AP. He actually loaded AP point blank range against like roughly 4 to 5 kilometers against a enemy Bismarck, which only had like 20% health left. He actually missed the shot big time. Like the shells went above the deck, so I'm assuming that he was firing his AP at the superstructure rather than the belt armor of the battleship. So yeah, we lost in this game because several of the poor plays. We should have sunk the Bismarck right away, and we would have won the game. But overall, it was a good game, and like I said, there's things that happens in World of Warships. We gotta deal with it and move on. Press on with the fact that some people make mistakes, and hopefully people learn from the mistakes. So yeah, this is the New Mexico who was zoned out most of the game. Bismarck, who really played poorly in terms of a battleship, below the tier 8 average battleship player because he was playing not near a battleship player should be playing, using HE, aiming at the superstructure with AP, and then getting caught in a poor position and ramming an island several times while checking where he's going. Yeah, overall it was poor play, but it was a good game, and I guess if I were to put it at the end of the day, everybody had fun. Very close game, very competitive. Detailed report. Let's see what we did most of our damage on. Prince Eugen, Bismarck, definitely with the Bismarck because we set 3 fires on her. And on the Fuso, we set some fires on the Colorado and Fuso. Hasaharu popped out of nowhere. Aside from that, thanks for watching. And I will see you guys next time. on World of Warships.